Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, as South Africa take on New Zealand in the final match of the 2021 Rugby Championship. Not only the final match for either side, but of the entire championship itself. And New Zealand chasing a potential Rugby Championship Grand Slam victory. If they were to beat the Springboks, they would have gone 6 from 6 victories, returned to number 1 in the world, got the Rugby Championship trophy, and done it in the perfect record. So, still lots to play for this weekend, despite there not being a trophy to play for in terms of anyone else having a shot. New Zealand have already won the Rugby Championship. But as we saw last weekend, this rivalry is more than just the Rugby Championship. These are two teams that always lift themselves when they play against each other. And whilst New Zealand have had the majority of the results and have definitely sort of beaten South Africa a lot more often than South Africa have beaten New Zealand, what we saw last weekend is it doesn't matter where South Africa are, the Springboks will always raise their game against New Zealand. And we saw that last weekend, and they could have gone all the way. And it's going to be very interesting to see sort of the tactical nuances we see this weekend, with New Zealand having reacted to last weekend's performance by tweaking the side, especially sort of trying to combat the aerial threat that the Boks possess. And the Springboks this week were very sort of open about the fact that they will keep with the kicking game. They're not going to change their tactics. And Jacques Nienaber did sort of saying that we always like to attack the space, and saying that because New Zealand are a side which defend quite flat, he says that leaves space in behind the line and for the aerial threat. And for all the Springbok fans don't like the kicking game, you can't deny that it was working to a certain degree, because the New Zealand back three, bar Geordie Barrett, were having a torrid time under the high ball, and the Springboks were putting a lot of pressure on them. The issue sort of becoming over-reliant on the kicking game itself, and kicking when we probably should have. But I think a lot of the kicks, especially the ones from Faf de Klerk, were pretty contestable and making for a very close sort of contest when the ball did go into the air. And as a result, New Zealand have tweaked their side to sort of counteract that. Before we look at the two teams that will take to the park on Saturday, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. In terms of the sides, we'll start with the Springboks side. Two injury-enforced replacements are the only changes to the match 23. In the front row, no Frans Malherbe due to an injury means that Trevor Nyakane has switched sides and will return to tight head after sort of successfully transitioning back to a loose head and doing it very well. Trevor Nyakane will now run out and in the tight head jersey this weekend, which will be another very big sort of step for him. But if he manages to do it, I think we have to start sort of looking at Trevor Nyakane as a pretty world-class prop in terms of being able to so successfully switch sides, which a lot of players struggle to do. We've seen players sort of being pushed into tight head, not being able to do it successfully. Now, he sort of managed to do work into tight head quite well, and then managed to switch back to loose head very well in the British and Irish Lions series. But now, come with the man, come with the hour. Trevor Nyakane will sort of start this weekend at tight head, and that means that Oxen Chair will in fact start at loose head. No Kitzel coming off the bench to the starting lineup. So that's the change in the front row. Bongi Manambi will continue. The rest of the scrum is as is. Eben Etzebeth, Loet Diago will continue their world-class lock combination. There were minutes of the lineouts last weekend. Eben Etzebeth very imposing in and around the game, and Loet Diago was very, very good at sort of disrupting the New Zealand lineout. Sia Khaleesi, Kwagga Smith, I thought were tremendous last weekend. They keep their spots, as does Dwayne Vermeulen, who put in a much improved performance last weekend. Seemed to be a little bit more sort of up to speed than he was against Australia. And then it is the same backline that we have seen all tour. No Cheslin Colby this weekend, does not recover in time, which means that Faf de Klerk and Honje Pollard will continue their halfback combination themselves, and Willie Leroux under quite a bit of pressure from the South African public. So, lots of eyes will be on them this weekend. Marcus Zorn, Pimpy, Spurn Corsi will be the two wing. Spurn Corsi getting on the score sheet last weekend after putting George Bridge under a lot of pressure there, and then Damien De Allende and Lekanya in the centres as well. Off the bench, Malcolm Mark, Stephen Kitsoff and Vincent Koch were pretty solid coming off the bench last weekend. Franco Mosso once again come off the bench this weekend as well. But Jasper Wiese, who was cleared last week after the team was announced, returns into starting lineup in place of the injured Malcolm Verstaden, who despite unfortunately after a fantastic cameo, did pick up a bit of an injury and will not make this weekend. Herschel Yankees, Alton Yankees, Frans Steyn will continue to be the backline replacements. One hopes that we actually see a little bit more of them. We can see a little bit more than 5 minutes from Herschel Yankees, and we can actually see Alton Yankees this weekend. I want to see changes. I want to see the coaching staff being willing, when things are not going well, to make these changes. If you're going to put these players on the bench, you got to back them. You got to stand by your convictions. If you're going to pick a 23, use your 23. I really don't like the fact that 2 games this rugby championship we've seen a player left on the bench. I really don't enjoy seeing that. I understand last weekend was because of injuries and issues and the potential going down to 14 men, so that sort of played a bit of a part. But even then, they said the plan was to give Elton Jantjies 10 minutes. Now, what's the point of giving Elton Jantjies 10 minutes? What is any player going to really do in 10 minutes? So, I mean, I just think it's a bit of frustrating to sort of say, no, the plan was to give a player an eighth of the game and see what he can do. You can touch the ball maybe 2 or 3 times tops, and that's pushing it sometimes if you don't have a lot of ball. So I'd like to see them get a little bit of an extended run out. I do think we missed a bit of a trick in terms of being able to sort of rotate a little bit, but they are sticking with their guns. And Jacques Nienaber is talking about the fact that they will always try and pick the best available team. So that is the best available 23 according to the coaching staff. In terms of New Zealand, they have tweaked their lineup but are sticking with the exact same scrum. So no changes in the pack. It will be Joe Moody, Cody Taylor, and Nepolu Olada in the front row. The front row battle I thought was pretty good last weekend, and quite another sort of tasty sort of aspect of this weekend's game. Brodie Retallick and Scott Barrett will continue their lock combination. Obviously, no Whitelock, who had thought it was initially sort of they thought they might be able to get him back for this weekend, but that would not be the case. And then Ethan Blackadder drops onto the bench. He did come into the starting lineup last weekend because of a late injury, but this weekend he will, in theory, start on the bench as well. So then the loose trio will be Akira Awani, Artie Severe, and Luke Jacobson. And then the backline will be Brad Weber's coming in place for TJ Perinara, so he will get a start this weekend. And that is sort of one of 3 changes in the backline, quite a few changes in the backline. 2 new wings. Well, Rico Ioane shifts to the wing and Sevu Reece comes back into the side. So both George Bridge and Will Jordan dropping out of the 23 completely as a result. I think it's pretty obvious as a result of their struggles under the high ball. Sevu Reece and Awani a lot stronger, a lot more physical, a lot better under the high ball and sort of try and reinforce those areas. As a result, Anton Leonard-Brown will start at outside centre. He partners David Havili, and then Geordie Barrett and Bowden Barrett both keep their spots despite a very packed bench in terms of the backline players. In the front row, off the bench for New Zealand, it will be Asafo Amua, George Bauer, and Ofa Tungafasi. So a couple of changes on the bench in terms of the front rowers for New Zealand. Apart from that, it will be Patrick Tupeluto and Ethan Blackadder, like it was supposed to be last weekend. And then TJ Perinara, Richie Mo'unga, Damian McKenzie as the backline replacements. And I think that's probably the most intimidating part of this New Zealand side is the ability to be able to bring on a TJ Perinara, a Michi Mo'unga, and a Damian McKenzie. 3 players, all with a lot of X factor, a lot of experience, and know how to sort of turn a game on its head. So it's sort of no doubt and no sort of hiding behind the fact that the Springboks will have to start this weekend and will have to sort of probably try to get into the lead and try and build on a lead because New Zealand have got the players to change the game very quickly. And you don't want to be chasing a game when you've got the likes of Richie Mo'unga, Damian McKenzie, TJ Perinara, who can really punish you when you make mistakes. So, look, it is always in the Springboks sort of current DNA, the fact that they want to get ahead and then they want to defend, and they'll say, bring on McKenzie, bring on Mo'unga, bring on TJ Perinara. We will draw a line in the sand and we will not concede a try. We will keep you out. And to be fair to them, after the terrific first try last weekend in the second minute, they didn't concede a try. And the defense did look a lot more solid, and that's kind of what South Africa have become in the last couple of years. They become a side which just don't concede a lot of tries. So it's been very interesting to sort of see if we will see any sort of tweak of tactics, if we will see South Africa maybe trying to run the ball a little bit more. And also whether sort of we see a little bit of changes in the way New Zealand go about things in terms of being able to sort of block kickers for the high ball, bit like Australia did, and just sort of small sort of nuances. Let me know what your score predictions are down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video as well and subscribe to the channel. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.